We had some big news from Carlos Alcaraz. Last year's winner at the Cincinnati Open has withdrawn from the event this year with that wrist injury that he's been dealing with since April.
Carlos Alcaraz's Cincinnati comeback did not fade away. It broke in public. One day, fans were watching practice clips and counting down to his return. The next, the defending champion was gone. No match, no explanation beyond the wrist. Then Renée Stubbs and Robbie Koenig drop a bombshell that makes the silence feel dangerous. Alcaraz is hiding the real Cincinnati truth. Stubbs had already seen the warning. Alcaraz privately told her he hoped to start hitting harder soon. That did not sound like a player ready for full combat. Koenig then warned that one rushed comeback could leave damage far beyond Cincinnati. Days later, Alcaraz withdrew. Now the pieces look different. The entry list promised hope. The training footage sold progress. His wrist delivered the verdict. Subscribe now because this story is bigger than one missed tournament. The real shock is not that Alcaraz pulled out. It is that Cincinnati may have exposed how little the public knew about his recovery. And if his team was still testing the wrist this late, then one terrifying question remains. Was Cincinnati only the first collapse? Or is the US Open already slipping away behind closed doors without anyone daring to admit it? That possibility changes the meaning of every update that came before the withdrawal. Cincinnati was never merely another stop on the calendar. It had become the unofficial deadline for Carlos Alcaraz's recovery. Once his name appeared in the field, fans naturally treated the tournament as confirmation. The defending champion appeared ready to reclaim his place. Practice footage strengthened that belief. Public optimism filled the remaining gaps. Yet tournament entry and competitive readiness were never the same thing. The distinction now matters because Alcaraz did not withdraw over scheduling, fatigue, or a tactical decision. His wrist was still recovering. That explanation strips away the easiest theories while leaving a more unsettling question behind. How close was he ever to playing? Nobody outside his medical and coaching circle can answer that with certainty. Still, the available details reveal that his return remained conditional throughout the process. Renée Stubbs offered the clearest glimpse of that uncertainty when she discussed a private exchange with Alcaraz. After watching footage of him practicing, she contacted him through Instagram. His response sounded hopeful, but it did not sound final. He reportedly said that he hoped to begin hitting harder soon. Those words carried more meaning than they first appeared to carry. A healthy player preparing for a Masters 1000 event usually focuses on form, movement, timing, and match sharpness. Alcaraz was still talking about increasing the force of his ball striking. That suggested a different stage of preparation. His wrist was not simply being tested against opponents, it was still being tested against intensity. Stubbs understood the danger because she had experienced a serious wrist problem during her own career. Her reaction came from personal knowledge rather than manufactured panic. She advised caution. Pain in that area can influence nearly every part of a player's game. The serve places force through the wrist. Heavy forehands demand acceleration and control. Defensive shots require stability from awkward positions. A player may survive a controlled practice session while remaining unprepared for the unpredictable violence of live competition. That difference created the real Cincinnati problem. Training clips showed Alcaraz striking balls. They could not show how the wrist felt afterward. Cameras captured movement across the court. They did not reveal swelling, soreness, hesitation, or the medical response to increased workload. A few clean forehands could encourage millions of supporters while telling his team very little about whether he could endure several matches within 1 week. Robbie Koenig's warning entered the discussion at precisely that vulnerable moment. His reported position was direct. Alcaraz had no reason to rush. Cincinnati mattered, but his career mattered much more. Koenig referred to the damage wrist injuries had caused other elite players. The comparison did not mean Alcaraz was destined to follow the same path. It explained why caution was necessary. Juan Martín del Potro remains one of tennis's most painful examples. His talent was never questioned. His forehand became one of the most feared shots of his generation. Wrist. Injuries repeatedly interrupted his momentum and demanded surgeries, rehabilitation, and difficult returns. Dominic Thiem's situation carried another warning. A player known for extraordinary force and physical commitment struggled to recover his previous level after a wrist injury altered the course of his career. Alcaraz is not Del Potro. He is not Thiem. His diagnosis, body, recovery, and circumstances are different. Koenig's point was not that history must repeat itself. The warning concerned the risk of treating a sensitive injury like a normal interruption. A premature return can turn one missed event into a much longer problem. That is why his Cincinnati withdrawal cannot be dismissed as a routine precaution. He had already missed months of competition. The injury began during the Barcelona Open in April, after he defeated Otto Virtanen in the opening round. He was then unable to continue in the tournament. Madrid disappeared from his schedule. Rome followed. His French Open title defense ended before it started. Wimbledon also passed without him. Each absence increased the emotional weight attached to Cincinnati. Fans had already watched the clay season continue without one of its biggest stars. Roland Garros lost its defending champion. Wimbledon proceeded without a player who had become central to the sport's biggest matches. By August, the audience was not merely waiting for another update. People wanted visible proof that the nightmare was ending. Cincinnati seemed ready to provide it. The tournament carried several layers of importance. Alcaraz had won the title in 2025. Returning as defending champion would have offered familiarity, ranking points, and high-level preparation before the US Open. A successful week could have restored confidence immediately. Even a modest run would have given him competitive information that practice could never provide. His withdrawal removed all of that in a single announcement. The immediate consequence concerned Cincinnati. Alcaraz could not defend the title or the ranking points attached to it. The deeper consequence concerned New York. A player can regain fitness on a training court, but Grand Slam competition demands something harsher. Best-of-5 set tennis exposes physical weaknesses slowly. One round may last 4 hours. Recovery becomes part of the contest. The wrist must survive serves, returns, stretched forehands, rushed reactions, and repeated impact across several days. Cincinnati was supposed to answer whether Alcaraz could tolerate those demands. Instead, his absence created a larger mystery. His supporters are now left interpreting incomplete evidence. Recent practice footage showed progress. Reports from Spain described an improving recovery. His return to outdoor training encouraged belief that competition was close. None of those developments were false. Improvement can be genuine without being sufficient. A player may move forward medically while remaining short of match readiness. This is where the title gains its real meaning. Alcaraz is hiding the real Cincinnati truth sounds like an accusation. The evidence does not justify claiming that he lied. It does support the idea that the public never saw the full level of uncertainty surrounding his comeback. Fans received the visible parts. They saw the entry list. They saw selected practice moments. They heard that Cincinnati was the target. The decisive information remained inside the team. That information may have changed from day to day. Recovery from injury rarely follows a clean schedule. One session can create optimism. A stronger test can expose discomfort. The player may feel ready during warm-up and react poorly hours later. Medical teams often increase workload gradually because the body must prove that it can recover, not merely perform. Alcaraz's private comment to Stubbs fits that pattern. He hoped to hit harder soon. Hope suggests progress mixed with uncertainty. The phrase did not announce a setback. It did not guarantee a comeback. It placed him between those outcomes. Koenig recognized the danger inside that middle ground. A young champion may feel pressure from several directions at once. Ranking points disappear during an absence. Rivals keep collecting titles. Tournament organizers prepare promotional campaigns. Sponsors want visibility. Fans demand news. The player also misses the emotional charge of competition. None of those pressures requires a conspiracy. Together, they can create a powerful urge to establish a return date before the body has supplied a final answer. Cincinnati became that date. Once the tournament confirmed his presence, the story gained momentum. Expectations hardened quickly. Language surrounding the comeback became more confident. Each training video appeared to confirm the plan. The possibility of withdrawal received less attention because fans wanted the positive outcome. Alcaraz had already missed too much. The sport wanted him back. Then his wrist overruled the narrative. That is the emotional center of this story. Alcaraz did not simply lose another opportunity to compete, he lost the moment that was supposed to prove he had escaped the injury. The tournament had become symbolic. A return in Cincinnati would have closed one painful chapter. Withdrawing kept the chapter open. The silence around the exact condition of his wrist makes the situation harder to judge. No reliable report has confirmed surgery. Nobody has established that he suffered a fresh injury. There is no official statement saying his season is finished. Claims beyond those boundaries would turn legitimate concern into fiction. The verified facts already carry enough drama. A 7-time major champion has not played since April. He missed Roland Garros and Wimbledon. His scheduled comeback in Cincinnati collapsed before he entered the court. The US Open begins at the end of August. His readiness remains uncertain. That combination would shake the sport even without Stubbs and Koenig. Their comments add another layer because both warnings appeared before the withdrawal. Stubbs revealed that full-power hitting remained a goal during his recovery. Koenig questioned the wisdom of rushing towards Cincinnati. The official decision later supported their caution. Neither commentator exposed a secret document. Neither announced a hidden diagnosis. Their observations became important because the outcome made them look prophetic. Fans now have to reconsider the way comeback stories are built. Tournament entry lists are administrative commitments, not medical certificates. Practice footage is evidence of activity, not proof of durability. Positive updates can be accurate while leaving out unresolved risks. Public confidence may reflect a target rather than certainty. Alcaraz's situation illustrates each of those differences. The player's own behavior also deserves a fair reading. Competitive athletes are wired to believe in recovery. Optimism can be part of rehabilitation. A player may genuinely expect to return, then learn that the body needs more time. Changing the plan does not prove deception. It can reflect responsible judgment. Withdrawing from Cincinnati may therefore be the most disciplined decision Alcaraz has made during this injury. The choice cost him a title defense, points, preparation, and public momentum. Accepting those losses suggests that the medical risk outweighed the competitive reward. Koenig would likely view that decision as sensible. His warning centered on the danger of sacrificing long-term health for immediate competition. Cincinnati offered value, but it could not justify gambling with a wrist that remained unready. Stubbs's perspective points toward the same conclusion. Her own experience taught her that wrist pain deserves respect. She understood that hitting harder too soon could produce consequences that extend beyond one tournament. The two analysts reached the same territory from different directions. Stubbs had personal communication and first-hand injury experience. Koenig assessed the strategic risks surrounding the comeback. Their comments did not combine into a coordinated bombshell. The withdrawal connected them. That connection now creates a difficult debate among fans. Some will argue that Alcaraz's team handled the situation correctly. They set a target, increased training, evaluated the response, and withdrew when the wrist failed to meet the required standard. That sequence reflects caution. Others will question why Cincinnati was allowed to appear so certain. The tournament announced him. Media coverage described an approaching return. Supporters invested emotionally in the comeback. More transparency might have prevented the shock. Both reactions can exist without accusing anyone of dishonesty. Elite athletes protect medical information for understandable reasons. Revealing too much can help opponents. Detailed updates can also create fresh pressure whenever recovery changes. A team may choose controlled communication because the situation remains unstable. The cost of that strategy appears when optimism collapses suddenly. Fans feel misled even when no direct lie occurred. Silence becomes suspicious. Missing details invite dramatic interpretations. That is exactly what happened here. The title says Alcaraz is hiding the truth because the public narrative and the final outcome no longer match. Cincinnati looked like the comeback event. His wrist never reached that point. The gap between those realities produces the rage. The real truth may be painfully simple. Alcaraz wanted to play. His team hoped he would play. The tournament expected him to play. His recovery did not progress quickly enough. Simple does not mean insignificant. The withdrawal changes his competitive position immediately. Match sharpness cannot be manufactured in private sessions. A professional can practice sets, rehearse patterns, and simulate pressure. Genuine competition creates different stress. Points become unpredictable. Opponents attack weaknesses. Adrenaline changes decision-making. Fatigue exposes technical compromises. Alcaraz's game relies on explosive variety. He defends with speed, changes direction violently, attacks with heavy spin, and produces power from unstable positions. Those qualities make him extraordinary. They also place demands on the wrist that gentle rehabilitation cannot fully reproduce. A compromised wrist could affect his forehand most visibly. Even minor hesitation may reduce racket head speed. Less confidence at contact can shorten the follow-through. Protective movement may send balls shorter. Opponents at Grand Slam level would recognize that pattern quickly. The serve presents another challenge. Wrist involvement influences placement, spin, and acceleration. A player returning from injury may protect the joint unconsciously. Small adjustments can reduce effectiveness without creating obvious pain. Over 5 sets, those compromises can become decisive. Return of serve creates its own danger. The player cannot control the pace arriving from the opponent. Fast serves force sudden reactions. Mishits and late contact send unpredictable force through the hand and wrist. Practice partners can manage intensity. Grand Slam opponents will not. Those realities explain why Cincinnati mattered more than its ranking category. It would have served as a controlled competitive test before New York. Alcaraz could have measured his wrist against elite pace without immediately facing best-of-5 set demands. Missing that test leaves his team with limited options. Winston-Salem remains a possible warm-up event before the US Open, but no confirmed participation has resolved the uncertainty. Entering that tournament would provide match exposure. It would also create a compressed schedule close to the major. A deep run could build confidence while reducing recovery time. An early loss might offer little useful preparation. Another withdrawal would intensify concern. Traveling directly to New York carries different risks. Alcaraz could protect the wrist for longer. He would arrive without competitive matches since April. His first round would become the first genuine test of the joint after months away. That is a brutal way to discover whether the recovery has reached the necessary level. Skipping the US Open would be even more painful. Alcaraz is the defending champion. Major titles define careers, and opportunities are never guaranteed. The emotional desire to compete will be enormous. His team must balance that desire against the possibility of extending the injury. This is where the Cincinnati truth becomes the US Open dilemma. The withdrawal proved that deadlines cannot control recovery. New York now offers another deadline with much higher stakes. Fans will search every video for clues, reporters will study each training session. Any visible tape, hesitation, or shortened swing will fuel speculation. Positive footage will create hope again. The same mistake cannot be repeated. Hitting on camera should not be treated as evidence that he can survive 7 rounds. Appearing on an entry list will not prove that his wrist is ready. Traveling to New York would not guarantee that he intends to play. Only an official decision and his performance on court can provide meaningful answers. Until then, Stubbs' message remains one of the most revealing details. Alcaraz was not discussing trophies with her. He was hoping to hit harder. That statement showed a champion reduced to measuring progress through basic physical capability. For a player known for spectacular power, the restraint must have been frustrating. The emotional burden of that limitation should not be overlooked. Alcaraz has built his identity around joy, movement, creativity, and fearless aggression. Injury removes control. The player cannot solve the problem with courage alone. Training harder may worsen it. Competing through pain may extend it. Patience becomes the only weapon, even when patience feels like surrender. Koenig's warning addressed that psychological trap. Champions often believe they can overcome physical problems through determination. Tennis history contains many examples where that instinct carried a heavy price. The smarter victory may involve refusing to compete. Cincinnati forced Alcaraz to accept that kind of victory. He protected the future by abandoning the present. Fans can still feel angry about the uncertainty surrounding the announcement. The sport had been prepared for his return. The defending champion represented one of the tournament's biggest attractions. His rivalry with Jannik Sinner has become central to men's tennis. Every event wants the possibility of that matchup. Sinner continued building momentum during Alcaraz's absence. He defended Wimbledon and strengthened his position at the top of the sport. Alcaraz could only watch while his own season stalled. Cincinnati offered a chance to interrupt that pattern. Losing the opportunity adds competitive frustration to the physical pain. The rankings will reflect his absence. Defending champion points disappear when a player cannot return. That numerical loss can make caution feel expensive, yet rankings can be rebuilt. A damaged wrist may not offer the same certainty. This tension gives the story its authentic rage. The system rewards constant participation while the body demands recovery. Tournament schedules do not pause.